You expect me to believe that a Black Hawk helicopter...
This has 945,000 likes, dude. I'm so cooked. We are so cooked. Dude, we're done. We're done. We're done. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. It's over. Wrap it up, dude. Yo.
Meanwhile, while investigators work to find the cause of the deadly D.C. crash, President Trump is ordering a review of DEI in aviation, warning it may have played a role in this tragedy.
Do you even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed? And you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people, you mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference?
Does it comfort their families?
They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question.
Interesting. Hogs mad. r/conservative users are really not happy with the DEI angle. Not the time to do this to score political points. Let the investigators do their job and families mourn. Trump will never not use a moment to promote his political points or opinions, no matter how irrelevant the situation they are. Same old Trump. He can never keep his mouth shut. I mean, one, these guys are still absolutely going to be Trump voters, Trump supporters, whatever. Yeah, I'm hearing stories so far. I have not seen any anything legitimate about this other than like personal anecdotes, but trans people are reporting that like there have been not one, not two, but numerous trans people have reportedly had issues with the passport office. And I don't know, could be an issue with oversight so far. And we'll get into it in a little bit. But as you guys know, one of the problems or one of the major things that the Trump administration has wanted to do was engage in trans erasure. You have to have your gender be the gender assigned at birth. Only man and woman, that sort of stuff, you know? I am so cold in this room, and I literally have turned off the AC, and it's still cold. Okay. Federal employees are told to remove pronouns from email signatures by end of day, apparently. Yeah, they're doing really stupid things. Like, they're doing really aesthetic-focused, stupid things. But part of that is also deliberate, where they're what do you call it? They're like doing this at the behest of like hurting trans people, harming marginalized communities in general. So it goes beyond aesthetics. No, I mean like aesthetically, as in like demanding that you remove your gender pronouns from your email signature is aesthetic. That's just the most bottom of the barrel. Like it's something that you do because you're just like, yeah, we're really going to stick it to the trans people like that. That's it. That's what it is. It's just like bullying, right? But there are far more consequential, far more impactful aspects of the trans erasure that we are talking about. So they're hitting it from every angle. Does that make sense? Where they're doing like silly things, but then they're also actively trying to do much larger, much more harmful things, such as, banning any sort of hormone replacement therapy. It's going to lead to, massive, massive problems. Like if your goal is to simply dunk on some trans people, in that process, you're going to end up harming every American. You're not just going to harm trans people. You're going to harm cis people as well. There are far more cis people than there are trans people out there. You know what I mean? Hold on. Health resources vanish following DEI and gender orders. Vague federal directives have led to frantic action and perhaps overreaction before a Friday deadline. Federal and state health officials and staff members scrambled on Friday to comply with a 5 p.m. deadline by Trump administration to terminate any programs that promote gender ideology and to withdraw documents and any other media that may do so. Federal workers have already been ordered to halt diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives to scrub public references to those efforts and to place employees involved in them on administrative leave. Known TRT users like Rogan and Hulk Hogan will have a hard time getting testosterone therapy. Yeah, probably not, because the reality of the matter is their job isn't to like undercut HRT in its entirety. I think that their goal is to specifically stop trans people from existing. Those pieces will always be able to get their steroids, unfortunately. Yeah, by the way, of course, classic fake news moment. My brother Jack Wallace just found out the helicopter pilot was a transgender. They aren't going to be able to hide this much longer. A transgender Black Hawk helicopter pilot for the military wrote a long letter about gender dysphoria and depression one day before the fatal crash. Virginia pilot responds after she's falsely targeted over Black Hawk crash. Joe Ellis, a National Guard pilot who was transgender, was falsely identified as the captain of the crashed military helicopter in thousands of social media posts. Yeah, you are the media now. She's alive. Yeah, of course she's alive because she wasn't the helicopter pilot for this helicopter crash. I can't stand this shit. It's so insane. It's so incredibly stupid. And like, I can't begin to talk about how disrespectful this is to the victims. I can't begin to talk about how hateful and stupid such an attitude is, like demonstrating such an attitude is, because none of that matters. These guys have one goal and one goal only. Okay. And then you got like absolute morons in here. So you're saying that trans people are actually better pilots? Did I ever say that? I don't know. I have no opinion. I don't think trans people are magical beings. I think they're just, just like every other type of person. Okay. I'm joking, bro. Okay. Well, don't crack jokes like this right now. You know what I mean? There's hella people who do that. It's just crazy. Every single person involved could be white. Every single person involved could be a white man, right? Like just a straight up white dude. And these guys will still say DEI, as is the case with this situation. What we're talking about here with this specific crash is literally that. Virtually every single person involved in it is a white dude. And it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if they were, if they weren't all white. Like, my point is DEI is a ridiculous argument to make regardless. It comes with the notion that like people who aren't white men are actually somehow being uplifted to these positions that they don't deserve because they're not white, because we have like racial quotas or whatever. That's what it is. And the irony for the ATC especially, and even the military, because they say they're DEIing the military too sometimes. But the irony is that these towers are so consistently understaffed. So if there's any sort of lowering of the hiring standards that anyone has ever, lowering the hiring standards that they've had in the past, it is directly due to the need for more hired help on this side. Okay? It is insane. It's understaffed and it's underfunded, and these guys are, in spite of these potentially quote unquote lowering of restrictions that people are claiming is occurring, they're still understaffed. Or the U.S. people are so addicted to skin color, people, it doesn't mean culture that matters. That's funny. It's just crazy to me because, like, God forbid there is a woman or a black person involved in any high profile incident. Oh my God. That's all. Like, these guys lie about it when there isn't a black person or a woman involved. I don't know what's going to happen when there is one. You know what I mean? Yeah, here it is. I can't remember the last time I've seen the military withhold a casualty ID. Unfortunately, the reason the family would make this request is all too clear and credible. The U.S. military official told NPR on Friday that at the request of the family, the Army is not going to release the name of the female member of the 3-person helicopter crew. The official was not authorized to speak publicly on the matter. You know why? What are they hiding? What? America first? What are they hiding? Says Patriot Vac Services. Patriot HVAC Services. Okay, no. This is a chatter. This is a you asshole. Stop. Patriot HVAC Services. Come on. This is definitely a Hasanabi head who made this account, right? Like as a meme, as a joke about like something I joke about all the time. Now let's get back to Peter Douchey talking about Trump turning things upside down.
Operate that air traffic control tower. It's a very busy airport. They say there are about 19 currently on staff. So we have a staffing issue at the Reagan Airport, DCA. DCA, very busy airport. We have 800 flights inbound and outbound each and every day at Reagan Airport. And overall, I believe our safety record is the gold standard. But when we have an issue like this, it needs to be addressed. There needs to be some oversight from Congress. We need to make sure that that if these airports are struggling with air traffic controllers, they bring it to our attention, and we can try to encourage more younger people to get into that field.
I struggle with this DEI stuff. I covered DEI when I ran campus reform.
Dog, I'm sorry. Oh, man. That's... No. It's not a as a black man moment, okay? Because it's not being black and working a normal job is entirely different than being black on Fox News, okay? These are two entirely separate planes of existence. When conservatives talk about tokenization or DEI or anything of that sort, okay, they're projecting, because the only way conservatives utilize black people is to have them sit there and say, my co-hosts are not racist. I, as a black man, know what real racism is, and that is not Donald Trump, or that is not insert conservative public figure. Okay? It's ironic because he's performing that duty, performing that role right now. Now, this doesn't mean that it's like, he doesn't have merit or whatever. I think that his willingness to play the role of a black man that will defend white supremacy is the merit for Fox News. It is the job for Fox News. It's just that, it's just kind of funny to see someone being like, yeah, I don't think we should hire. Oh, he has no merit. Trust me on that one. No, the merit for us is different than what the goals are with Fox News. The role that Fox News wants him to play.
Maybe it had the original intent was good, but it's gone way too far. I understand organic diversity. I understand that some people at one point in time in history, or maybe today, were denied jobs because they're because of the race, sexual orientation, or whatever. I understand that. But why are we trying to
what was that?
In history, or maybe today, were denied jobs because they're qualified.
It's crazy to hit a maybe on that. Like when you're talking about historic job discrimination, like you're literally black, dude. Like, what is happening? What do you mean maybe? Like, you have a black mother and a black father. You have a black grandfather and a black grandmother, two of them. What the hell are we talking? You got relatives. Like, it's not that long ago. I just don't get it. I don't know how you can still hit that with a maybe. But then again, that's his job. That's his job here. Okay. That's the role. That's why he's there. And he's playing that role. I'm just saying. He's like, oh yeah, it's DEI stuff, man. Yeah, let's continue.
Because of the race, sexual orientation, or whatever. I understand that. But why are we trying to...
Why are the .govs going down? They're just, that's crazy. FAA.gov is down. They're taking out all the federal... Wait, is that... I can't tell if... Is it real? MHUD? Is FAA.gov? I can't tell if you're baiting me or not. They're taking him down because Donald Trump issued a mandate saying you got to delete all of your DEI stuff. Breaking, Trump administration officials are putting a pause on most federal government websites. They're expected to go dark at 5 p.m., Trump officials told me.
Get people with mental disabilities to work air traffic control. I mean, there is a place for them in society, but a lot of the diversity push just doesn't make sense. It's not a value of diversity in air traffic control. It just doesn't. The one thing that we need to focus on is the person qualified for the job. Yep. Does their diverse background bring them some additional information to the job? But just hiring people to meet different metrics doesn't make any sense to me. I'm sorry.
Right. The last thing I would say, it reminds me of the story we had the LA fires, where that fire chief was saying.
I do love why. I do love, one, explaining the historic necessity for why like DEI initiatives originally started, whether it be affirmative action or whatnot, which is to, combat racial hiring discriminatory practices, right? Hiring discriminatory practices on the boundaries of like race, gender, whatever. And then turning around and saying, but it's really messed up that they're doing this other thing, which is like not the case, right? Standards being lowered or whatever. And admitting that there's a problem that exists, explaining what the solution to that problem is, and then simultaneously pointing to the solution to that problem as a bad thing by explaining something entirely different. That's what he's doing here. He explained the historic reasons as to why DEI and those sorts of initiatives exist, which is, once again, to combat historic discriminatory hiring practices. That's it. It doesn't mean there are racial quotas, or it doesn't mean that there are like intellectual disability quotas where they're like, we need to hire 10 people with Down syndrome or something. Like that's not how this works at all. Okay? Especially on the racial or gender boundaries, DEI, or rather like HR practices that focus on hiring from all different backgrounds, is just that. A way to improve the hiring practices so that you don't immediately disqualify certain groups of individuals, as was done historically. That's it. That's it. It's all it is.
We want people to know that if you're in a fire, there's somebody coming to save you that looks like you. No, I'd like somebody that's good at saving people.
I just don't want to burn.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't want to burn.
I want to live. I don't want to burn to death. All right, so NBC has a story, and the headline is, fear and chaos grip federal workers as Trump rapidly remakes the government. Donald Trump has said, as you know, we've been covering this, he wants to...
I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, I guess like if you have nothing, this is like exciting for you. I don't know. They're like, yeah, we're lighting everything on fire. It's so sick. It's like, it's not. I don't think it's sick. I don't think this is good. I think this spells disorder and chaos, which is bad. But what do I know, you know? But I guess when you're a rudderless ship, in terms of your politics, in terms of your political ideology, I don't get it. You're just, the only thing you care about, I guess, is that Trump is removing HIV data sets from CDC, could seriously affect HIV prevention efforts. What happens if all the people in these federal jobs and walk out, full collapse? I'm kind of stoned right now. Yes, that's not going to happen. Damn, do they tint your brows? I'm so tired this morning. Holy shit.
In the work from home practices. So he offered the deferred resignation, where you get paid through September if you resign by February 6th. There are only 6% of our federal workers that are working full-time in an office. So that's why Donald Trump is doing this. Now you have these Democrats that are saying we're living in fear. Everything's so chaotic. But my question to them is, are you fearful about lower prices? Are you fearful about tax breaks? Are you fearful about not paying tips? Not paying taxes on tips or Social Security checks or on your overtime? Many of you work overtime. Are you fearful that Donald Trump's going to get rid of criminal illegal aliens? Why are you scared?
And they're worried about if you're a federal employee, they're worried about their future. Well, because Donald Trump asked Elon Musk to cut $2 trillion out of the budget. They accused Donald Trump of the first 4 years of not cutting like he did. Tax reform, I believe, was working to do that, bring more revenue in, but they never got to the tax cut because of the pandemic. So what he's doing now is to look at the 2.3 million people working for the federal government. They all got emails saying, you can quit, we'll give you 6 months, which, by the way, is way too generous, I think. But come to work, you're fired, or take the 6 months. And just write in your subject line, say resigning. So that you should feel fear and loathing if you're not doing a good job. But if you like your job and are doing good at your job, you can keep your job. But this is part of a whole of government push to lean it out and bring our budget in line with $36 trillion in debt. You should not be fearful unless you're coasting. If you're coasting in your job, be fearful. But this is Elon Musk sleeping in the Eisenhower in the office on the couch like he did with Tesla, trying to fix it. He's trying to fix the government the way he did SpaceX.
Well, something is obviously going wrong, Ainsley. We just had Americans die because it wasn't properly staffed and they weren't focusing on the right thing. Other agencies are going through something similar. It's just not a harsh job or a deadly job that could cause death, but other harms are happening in the government currently.
It's just sad we had to figure it all out this way.
In this hour with breaking news minutes ago, CNN confirmed that the FAA has indefinitely shut down the low-altitude helicopter corridor that was in use at the time of Wednesday's mid-air collision that killed 67 people. CNN has exclusively obtained 2 videos that show the crash from angles we had not seen before. They're right here on your screen. You see the Army Black Hawk helicopter on the left, apparently flying right into the path of the American Airlines plane. And here's another video capturing the moment before the impact. The helicopter is traveling over the Potomac River as the plane makes its descent to Reagan National Airport. And some experts are wondering if the Army pilot was confused by the other bright lights and didn't see the approaching plane, perhaps confusing it with another plane. Also this morning, the New York Times is reporting that the Black Hawk may have strayed off course. Quote, the military helicopter appears to have been flying too high and outside its approved flight path at the time of the crash, according to 4 people briefed on the matter, but not authorized to speak publicly, end quote. NTSB investigators have recovered both the voice and data recorders from Flight 5340.
This also is like breaking people's brains because it's a military helicopter that crashed in and that crashed into the commercial airliner. Also on top of that, it was... I mean, it's in DC. Also on top of that, they were saying that they were doing like a regular training session or something like that. What is it, like a continuity plan? So all of the, I suspect, greatest, all of the greatest minds, all the top minds of conspiracy are aching to make this into a very, very big deal. I mean, I get it. If I was a conspiratorial person, I would look at the situation and go, this is it. I've hit it big. Continuity of government. Yeah. It's just like fatal training accidents happen. Oftentimes it doesn't lead to this many civilian casualties. And oftentimes it doesn't lead to this public of an affair. Right. But goddamn, dude, this is like, oof. For conspiracy talk, this is the greatest day of all time. Okay. Hey, go to census.gov. Yeah, they're taking out all of the websites one by one currently. Okay. I think at least it seems like some of them are coming back.
And hope to have a preliminary report ready within the next 30 days. CNN's Renee Marsh is at Reagan National. Renee, what are we learning about this FAA action to close the helicopter corridor?
Right, Pamela, that is the latest development here as this investigation is underway, and this is quite a significant move, the first significant aviation safety move since this mid-air collision outside of Reagan National Airport concerning the airspace surrounding the airport. Now, this airspace that has been shut down by the FAA is used not only by commercial airliners coming and going from this airport, but also military aircraft as well as law enforcement aircraft. But in light of that mid-air collision, the FAA has made the determination to close traffic to anything except for those commercial aircraft. And you talked about this other new reporting that I'm sure investigators are also going to be looking into, which is whether or not this helicopter left the proper altitude that it should have been. And if this deviation away from the altitude that it should have been at, this Black Hawk, is actually confirmed, it would certainly mean that the pilot of that Black Hawk was not following flight regulations at that time, because these helicopters are supposed to be flying at very specific altitude, 200 feet or less. And so that is certainly something that investigators will be zeroing in on when they retrieve the black box from the Black Hawk helicopter. That has not been retrieved yet, but they have retrieved the black boxes from the commercial passenger plane. They are already starting work on that. It is in their labs. They have opened it and they've begun the process of reviewing the data from those black boxes. We know that investigators say that they are confident, based on the condition of the black boxes from the commercial passenger plane, that they will be able to get data from it. Also, the NTSB is tapping into their expertise across the country. We got word today that they have tapped one of their members from Alaska They have flown that individual in. He's a former pilot of a Black Hawk helicopter, so tapping into his expertise on that. And of course, another crucial part of this investigation, Pamela, is going to be the air traffic controllers. We do know that the NTSB at this hour, they have not yet had interviews with the air traffic controllers, so that is soon to come. Pamela?
And there was this near miss the day before the collision between an airplane and helicopter. Tell us about that.
Right, just further highlighting the complicated airspace that is the airspace around Reagan National Airport. It was just the day before this mid-air collision that another passenger plane coming in for a landing had to actually abort landing because another helicopter had come too close into its path. We have the sound from the air traffic control for that incident. Let's take a listen.
This time is a helicopter over Georgetown, northbound, 300 feet.
Hey, Tower, we had a RA, but 4514 is going around.
We had an RA with the helicopter traffic below us.
So clearly with this, the incident that is being investigated today, you have that previous incident. It has clearly become evident to investigators that this complicated airspace, something needed to be done more immediately, even though this investigation is ongoing. And Pamela, again, that headline today, the FAA shutting down this airspace around Reagan National Airport to those military helicopters.
Yeah, that's a big development. Renee Marsh, thank you. And our next guest is a former air traffic controller who personally shut down New York City's airspace on 9/11. And he may have been the first person to realize America was under attack that day. Michael McCormick joins us now. Thanks for your time. So as a former air traffic controller, what was your immediate reaction when you learned about this crash and subsequently as more evidence is coming in to process?
Pamela, just like the rest of the country, I was absolutely shocked when I learned of this mid-air collision, especially with the loss of life on board.
Conspiracy talk is booming.
You expect me to believe that a Black Hawk helicopter...
This has 945,000 likes, dude. I'm so cooked. We are so cooked. Dude, we're done. We're done. We're done. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. It's over. Wrap it up, dude. Yo, is satire?
Collided with an American Airlines flight in DC's most modern and secure airspace. An American Eagle flight that was en route from Wichita, Kansas. Does anybody know about what's happening in Kansas right now? A major you-know-what outbreak? Putting that aside, I just so happened to track the helicopter's path as well before you were unable to all of a sudden. And boy, did I discover a lot of very interesting information.
Did he... What, a tuberculosis? Is that... Why didn't he say tuberculosis? Can you not say tuberculosis on TikTok? Are you not allowed to say tuberculosis on TikTok?
This is not something
Let's
that
continue with
you
this.
would expect to see within the air traffic control community. And my thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the passengers, the crew on board both aircraft, and also to the air traffic controllers at Washington National, who I'm sure are having a very difficult time right now.
My heart feels for them because I think about that moment when the collision happened and then the air traffic controller had to see the collision and then immediately pivot and deal with all the other planes coming in and redirecting them to the other airports in the area. I mean, talk about true professionalism. But you have to wonder what they're thinking, how they're feeling right now. According to the New York Times, audio recordings reveal that the passenger jet was originally cleared by the control tower for one runway and then was cleared for another runway. What is your assessment of that and just the timing here of the communication with the helicopter pilot just around 13 seconds before the collision happened?
That is not an unusual maneuver for Washington National Airport. The main runway is what the aircraft was initially sequenced for. The controller made the decision to circle the aircraft to runway 33, and that allows the tower to be able to get more departures off of the main primary runway while the aircraft was circling to land on the secondary runway. Unfortunately, the because of that maneuver, it put American right into the flight path of the helicopter.
And a source tells CNN that one controller was working 2 positions at the time of the crash. I think that for the layperson, you're like, oh my gosh, what? They were working 2 positions covering the helicopters and the planes, but apparently that's common practice. Should it no longer be common practice?
It is a common practice in all air traffic control facilities that you open and close positions based upon the volume and complexity.
I got a new
at any given
jacket.
time. That provides maximum flexibility to handle what's going on in a control tower or in any other air traffic control facility. In this instance, it was actually a good thing because now you have one controller who's actually talking to and controlling both of the aircraft. Otherwise,
It's a brand called Color. It's a Japanese brand called Color with a K, and it's sick.
if it was a separate controller, then the 2 controllers would have to constantly coordinate back and forth about what is happening and what they're choosing to do.
Just taking a step back, I often think about how stressful that job is to be an air traffic controller. Just bring us into what it's like to be one and sort of the daily stress and the pressure that you're under.
It is crazy that now that Donald Trump is president, the media is finally doing pro-labor, like basically talking about, the media is basically doing like pro-labor coverage, talking about how, the air traffic controllers are underfunded and that they're understaffed. Typical. It took Donald Trump becoming president again for them to be like, hey, we got to do contentious coverage again. Classic. Now, of course, I've long maintained the position that they are not going to be as contentious as they should be. Okay. Just so you understand, like, you're going to get very limited amount of contentious coverage out of these guys. If your expectation is that they're going to be like really aggressive, really going out of their way and like going after the Trump administration for all its faults and failures, I don't think they're going to do that. But there are certain instances where they will shine a light on what is the real issue. This is one of those instances, it seems, where they're just like, yeah, Donald Trump's immediate blame on DEI initiatives is perhaps not the reason why this happened. And it's, I think, a very glaringly obvious instance. So Trump exclusively blaming that or hitting that button will most likely end up backfiring. You'll also see like regulatory agencies aggressively go after. It's just, I still personally suspect that the DEI button is going to be overused. And yes, the dumbest of Trump supporters are going to be on board with it always and forever. But slowly but surely, it will eat away at the number of people that truly believe it, especially if it like is a traumatizing incident that impacts many Americans, right? You can't say 9/11 happened because of DEI, for example. Now, this wasn't 9/11, but it's still a very high-profile incident that is super traumatic. So if you look at that situation and go, oh, it must be DEI, you're like, I don't know about that, Anyway, let's continue.
I mean, I can't even imagine what they're feeling right now. And you heard President Trump talking about it yesterday, not to make this.
They're overusing it too hard. It doesn't have to be. But don't you think by that time it'll be replaced by something else? BLM, CRT? Yes, there is a likelihood of that too. But now they're in power. It's a little bit different when you're in power. Because think about it this way. The CRT stuff, the woke stuff, all this was inventions when you're out of power. But when you're in power, you are still ultimately responsible for things that are happening under your watch. So when you're in power and you complain about DEI, people are inevitably going to think, okay, it's kind of your fault, and I feel like you're deflecting blame away, and I've heard the story too many times, so now I'm starting to think maybe maybe you're just kind of using it. Like in other instances, I still agree with you, but in this one, it seems like, maybe not the case. But yeah, as things get worse and worse year over year, as conditions worsen across the board, oftentimes due to underfunding, understaffing, the same exact problems that persist because everyone is interested in corner cutting. Inevitably, you will see more accidents like this happening, more devastating impacts of climate change, and they will constantly resort to DEI over and over and over again.
But he's blaming DEI policies without having the evidence to support that. And I just want you to tell us from your experience what it's like.
I believe the air traffic control profession is what is known as a meritocracy. And that is only the best can go through the rigorous selection program, the screening program, and then the 1 to 5 year training program prior to receiving their certification. So having gone through that, we are very proud to have professionals who are competent and dedicated to providing the safest service in the world. And as a controller, I think there's nothing more gratifying, more fulfilling than being able to provide that service to our country. And there is no stress. When you enjoy your profession, you do not feel the stress. You deal with the responsibilities. You compartmentalize, as in the case of when this accident occurred, the controller immediately moved to where their priorities were. And that is air traffic control.
It's just remarkable. It really is. Michael McCormick, thank you.